According to the dictionary, fear is defined as an unpleasant feeling of anxiety or apprehension caused by the presence or anticipation of danger. The most common synonyms are panic, anxiety, and worry. Now, how often do we hear those words in our society these days? In fact, some people wear them as badges of honor. Now, the key words in that definition are the words presence and anticipation. Now, there's two fears that are hardwired into every single human being. Number one is the fear of falling from a high place. Not the fear of the high place itself, but the fear of falling from it. And number two is loud and sudden noises. Some fears are instinctive and helpful, while others are invented in the mind and are harmful. The instinctive fears show up in the presence of danger. It's your fight or flight response. Now, these fears require little or no thought. Our instinctive subconscious brain just takes over and reacts for us. It's the anticipation that's the problem with so many kids and adults today. Several studies and surveys have been conducted over the years ranking the top 10 strongest and most common fears. The fear of public speaking is always ranked number 1 or number 2, yet the fear of death is almost always somewhere in the middle of the pack. Does that make any sense to you? So here is secret number 2 for empowering kids. Make fear fun. Change the association of fear in the minds of your kids and for yourself. When you and your kids confront the things that you are fearful of and overcome them, the power of your identity just grows exponentially. When you challenge something that you were afraid of and then discover, wait, that's it? What was I afraid of? It's incredibly empowering for you and your kids. Now, before we move on, let me make clear the distinction between fear and risk. I'm not advocating for you and your family to seek out risky activities as a means of empowering yourselves. So as an example, let's use a common activity that millions of people engage in every single day as an example. Flying in an airplane. Fear of flying consistently ranked in the top 3 of the most common fears of people in the US. Yet flying is statistically proven to be the single safest mode of transportation. So fear is being worried about the very small chance that the plane that you're in could be involved in an airline incident. But risk is getting on a plane that you know is being piloted by somebody who doesn't have a pilot's license and doesn't know what he or she is doing. So why are so many people afraid to fly? It's the anticipation, thinking of what could happen. And the brain can't tell the difference between what is quote-unquote real and what is imagined. So if you're imagining and focusing on all the bad things that could happen, your brain starts to send signals to the body as if they actually are happening as a means of survival. And when your conscious mind sees that those things aren't actually going on, they're not actually happening, that's where all those feelings of anxiety and dis-ease come from, because all of your systems are out of sync. Now, Earl Nightingale was a prodigious speaker and author in his day, and he is an OG in the personal development field. In fact, his publishing company, Nightingale Conant, is still one of the largest publishers in the field of personal and professional development today. And Mr. Nightingale conducted a study on the subject of what people worry about and consistently think about. And here's his results. Things that never happen, 41%. That means 41% of the things that you worry and think about consistently are never going to occur. Things that are over and in the past and can't be changed, 29%. In other words, these things that can't be changed by all the worry in the world, so why bother spending the time and energy on them? Needless worries about our health, 12%. These are the what-if worries. So for example, if you have no history of a disease in your family, you don't participate in any of the known risk factors for that disease, and don't show any symptoms, why should you fear getting it? Silly miscellaneous worries. That's 10%. These are the things like, did I leave the light on in the garage, or did I remember to vacuum under the sofa? That kind of silly stuff. So then those real legitimate worries is 8%. In other words, 8% of things that you worry about are really worthy of the time and the energy to spend thinking on them. Now, human beings are creatures of habit. Generally speaking, we don't like to change those habits, those behavior patterns, because they're so ingrained. And I have found that most people fear change because they fear the unknown. The fear is there even if that change promises to be for the better. Now, kids fear changes like moving to a new neighborhood, going to a new school, making new friends, or trying something new simply because they don't think they're going to be good enough at it. So how do we help our kids to challenge themselves and confront these types of invented fears? We help them by asking them to ask themselves questions like, if I knew I would succeed, what would I do first? What will happen if I do this? Or what will happen if I don't do that? Helping them ask these questions is a simple and important step. These questions change the brain's focus. So no longer is your child focused on the fear, which then leads to continual reinforcement of that fear. The focus now is on the positive outcome. Now the brain is looking for resources to make that positive outcome a reality rather than focusing on the fear that prevented action from being taken in the first place. So we've just changed the association with fear in the mind of your child. Now they'll feel challenged and empowered rather than being afraid and anxious. As this is repeated over time, it will create new empowering habits and behavior patterns, and consistently boosting their belief system. So stand up to your fears. Don't let fear hold you or your kids back from the success that you are destined for. To quote a good friend of mine, Sarah Victory, challenge yourself and your kids to do something brave every day. And always remember, be great.